Hello everybody and welcome back to the Platinum Edition for Farming Simulator 17. What we're going to do in this video is take a look at every single machine, every piece of equipment which has been included in the Platinum Edition, and we're going to establish all of the specifications for each one and just generally have a very good look over everything which is included. It's going to take some time because there has been actually loads of stuff put into the Platinum Edition, some of which may feel like they're duplicated, and the reason why is because they are. I've duplicated them just to show you the different options that you can go with. So for example, the cultivators, some of the cultivators you can choose to have a seed box on, others you can't. So yeah, I've just bought multiple numbers of the same thing, just to show off the different options available to us. Anyway, I think before we do leave the fantastic lizard convertible here, I will just very quickly explain the specifications for this. It actually does range massively in engine size. We have got a horsepower difference between 140 and 220 for the same vehicle. Now the horsepower numbers do actually correspond with the model numbers. The Lizard convertible 140 is obviously the 140 horsepower. There's also 162, which is 162 horsepower, and 220, which is the biggest. You can also choose between 3 different wheel types. This is obviously one type, and then yeah, there's 2 more to go with it if you want to, all of which will affect the price. But if it's your luxury vehicle, feel free to spend as much as you want to. As well, very impressively, it has a top speed of 120 kilometers per hour. I'm not just telling you that because it says it on the dashboard, it actually does tell me this on the info sheet which I've got in front of me. So we'll park it over here, we'll show it off as much as we can do. We can't put it in the undergrowth. Fantastic. So that is machine, well if you want to call it a machine, number 1. Vehicle number 1. That's probably a better idea for it. Now we're actually going to start way over here because I want to sort of go in categories. We're going to be jumping about everywhere. First things first, we have got the absolutely fantastic, in my opinion, Massey Ferguson 4709 tractors. These two are pretty much the same. The only difference is the wheels. You can choose standard wheels, which is this one here, or wide wheels. Or I should probably say tyres. The only other difference, which I haven't actually got set here, is you can also have a front loader attacher, which will obviously go in here, and you can put the front loader on the front if you want to. In fact, in the main Let's Play series, the one you start off with, you do start off with the tractor with the front loader attacher. So you're going to see that straight away anyway, if you watch my Let's Play series or if you get the game yourself. Now, I think really, all I can do is have a wander about. You can see the level of detail. If we just go in here, all the switches, you can see the PTO switches, the 3-point linkage height, all the different dials for the lights and everything, gear shifters, range shifters, everything. It is a nice and realistic looking machine. As well, it does have a rear hydraulic top link, which I think is fairly extravagant for one of these, which is very nice indeed. Just trying to get a close-up view. Looks like we've got 4 spool valves, so 2 sets. Everything else is fairly self-explanatory, I'd hope. But yeah, it's a nice thing. I'm very pleased that we have got a utility tractor now in Farming Simulator. I suppose you could arguably say we already do have some small tractors which you could class as utility, but I wouldn't call anything quite as utility as much as these. Well, these two are. Obviously the one, it's only the 4709, the same tractor, just with different options. Next we're going to go over to the Stara tractor, which is just over here. We do have 3, but actually what you'll find is if you go into your category, you'll only see 2. So if we just go all the way to the end here, you'll see we've got the 2 Stara. Obviously we've got the Massey Ferguson as well, but the 2 Stara tractors. The 105 is a standalone tractor, but the 150 is kind of acting as a series, because in the series of the ST Max 150, we've actually got the 180 as well. That is why we have 3 tractors, just to make it clear for you. Now, I am going to have to keep referring to my fact sheet. Obviously, with some of these pieces of equipment, it's going to be fairly self-explanatory because a lot of model numbers tend to go with the horsepower. So the ST Max 150 is 150 horsepower. Likewise, the 180 is 180 and 105 just here. So, let's have a wander around as usual. There we go. Looking very nice indeed. Everything you'd expect to have on an agricultural tractor. I think actually one thing which is very nice about the certainly the ST Max 105 is the panoramic view. There is a lot of glass in this tractor, so the pillars of the cab are very, very small. And yeah, there's not really any obstructions. And look at this, we've got the Stara control module just down here, which I would say is for the drill or the cultivator, built-in GPS or something like that, and it's been positioned out of the way, which I love, not in the window space. Very, very good that it's down there. We might as well just have a quick drive. Just a very quick drive. Just so you can hear it and everything. They do make a good sound. Now before we do move on to the next tractor, I'm just going to say first of all, this Massey Ferguson you can see next to us, the sprayer, that is actually a bonus machine. So that isn't in the standard version of Platinum Edition. It is, as far as I'm aware, only available through the pre-order. So I'll come back to that at the end. So don't be expecting that if you haven't pre-ordered. But obviously Giants could change the idea behind that at any time. It could be released. Who knows? So yes, just at the moment, just consider that as a bonus vehicle. Right, next we've got the ST Max 150, which is obviously a much chunkier tractor. All three tractors here have got the built-in front weight. In fact, every single tractor in the Platinum Edition has got an integrated front weight, which I don't think is removable. So you can see there are all these weight blocks. These tractors have got them too. So it would appear, I'm going to have to confirm this, it would appear that every tractor does not have a selectable 3-point linkage at the front. No, it doesn't. But you can choose between different wheels if you would like to, which is always very nice. So the top speed of the ST Max 150 is 30 kilometers per hour. As for these two, it is 40 kilometers per hour. So they are a bit faster, which would make a difference actually if you were doing karting. What we're going to do now is jump over to this sprayer, because we do actually have the Stara Empirado. I always get confused with that name. I don't know why, because it's a nice name. The 3.0. This is our self-propelled sprayer. Obviously fairly high-tech and everything. Loads of controls on the side here. Got the screen. Plenty of safety information, so make sure you read that before you jump into this thing, or when you've jumped into it. It has a horsepower of 220, so it is fairly high horsepower. The working width is an impressive 27 metres. In fact, I will just go out here and unfold it just so you can see. While it's doing that, I'll continue explaining. The capacity of the spray tank is 5,100 litres. So, yeah, you're going to be able to do a lot of work in a short period of time. There we go. Now I would like to touch more on each thing, but obviously we have a restriction on time here, because I don't want the video to be 2 hours long. I would like to actually get it done within 20 minutes or so. But yeah, I think you get the idea with it. Oh no, I've just blocked the bus. Sorry. Yeah, we've got loads of controls, loads of different dials, and I can only assume that it is pretty much as it is in real life. I've never even seen a Stara vehicle, a Stara machine in real life, so I can't say, but Giants do have a very good reputation of basing things pretty much exactly as they would be in the real model. Right, let's just put this back over here. It's folded up enough. I'll jump out, and the next thing we need to go over to, I've just been banged on the head by the steps just there. The next thing is the combine harvester. Now this is the Bison Super Z056, as you can see on the back there. It is actually quite a nice thing to drive. I have driven it in the Let's Play. So, although it's old, it is still a nice thing to have. And it's certainly a decent starting off machine as well. Because we actually do only start off with 3 different fields, and only one of which is ready to harvest. So that is plenty to get you started with. It has 100 horsepower. The speed is 20 kilometers per hour, and the capacity for the grain is 3,540 litres. The working width is 4.2 metres. So it is actually smaller than the smallest combine which we've always had in Farming Simulator 17. Now, things are going to start to get very exciting, because what we're going to go to next is the sugarcane harvester, which I think this is probably the highlight of the entire Platinum Edition, because it is all about the sugarcane, the brand new crop which has been put into the game. So to harvest a new crop, such as sugarcane, you have to have some fairly big equipment. Having said this, this is not the only sugarcane harvester we start off with. I will show you the smaller trailed one over there. In fact, to be able to purchase this, you are going to have to progress fairly well in your saved game. So this is the Case IH A8800. At least that's the way I'm going to pronounce it. It could be the 8800, I'm not too sure. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. This is a sugarcane harvester, and it's a very expensive piece of equipment. Now, with a very expensive piece of equipment, obviously comes a lot of technology. So it's going to be absolutely packed. You can see how many hydraulic hoses there are on it. Lots of workings on it as well. And obviously to power all of these workings, it's going to need a fairly big engine. The engine is 358 horsepower. It has a top speed of a very, very slow 10 kilometers per hour. However, one thing which you will notice is if I put cruise control on, it can actually do 13. I know it does say 13 miles per hour, but I don't think Farming Simulator actually distinguishes miles per hour from kilometers per hour. So you can get an extra 3 out of it if you would like to, which I'm sure will be very welcoming to most people. The working width, despite it being a big machine, is only 2.4 metres. But I think you'll find that as a huge upgrade from the trailed one. Now, having said this, the trailed one is still decent, but it comes at a much cheaper price, so you can't really expect it to do what this can do. We'll have a quick wander around. I don't know if we can climb up on top of it. There is the conveyor, but you can see it's got the hitch on the back for towing the trailer. Here is the internal view, inside view. Very spacious. Not a bad office, really. Right, so if I just put it back over here, you can also see that the monitor is dynamic as well. The different digits are moving on there, such as engine speed, the actual ground speed, and I don't know if the no, I don't think the engine hours do move. Actually, I'm not too sure. It's showing 1,626, but it's actually done 0. So no, I don't think that does actually move. But not to worry. Next, we've got the trailed harvester, which is just here. Now, this trailed harvester, the SWT7, does require a bit of horsepower. It requires 100 horsepower to get it to work efficiently. The working width is just 1 metre. So actually, the self-propelled one is over a metre wider, 1.4 metres wider, which would make all the difference. I can only assume this is the single row, the other one is a twin row, but effectively it is working a very similar way. It's just a much smaller scale, and obviously it is towed. Right, so that is everything in the first category which I wanted to cover. Next, we're going to focus on the implements. Here's a big piece of kit. This is a chaser bin, and obviously this is for carting lots of grain from a combine or 2 combines over to maybe a truck or another bigger trailer at the side of the field. Now, this does have a capacity of 33,000 litres, so that's going to come in handy. Here is the back view. It's got some steps on it, and it's also got a cover. There is the auger on the front. I wish I could climb up there. I could fly, but then, yeah, I want to see stuff from the right perspective. So there we go. That is the chaser bin, the first thing we need to look at. Next, this is actually the, from me, the most highly anticipated cultivator, mainly due to the fact it has a horsepower requirement of 320. Because it doesn't look very big. But if you think about it, it really does require that amount of power, just due to the nature of how it works. Now, it has a working width of 3.4 metres, so it really isn't that wide, but it still does need a lot of power. It's the big TT, so I like it. As soon as we can afford it in the Let's Play, we're going to go for it. It's an interesting piece of kit. I suppose you could say it's simple, looks like a simple piece of kit, but it is still very interesting. So, moving on, we have got the multi-cultivator. What does this say down here? 5-in-1. Again, it's by TT. So, the idea behind this is not only to cultivate, but also to drill as well. Looking at it from the back here, it actually is quite an interesting thing to look at. We've got some deep legs here as well. And it requires 240 horsepower. It has a working width of 3.5 metres. And the capacity of the seed tank up there is 600 litres. So it's going to be a handy thing to have about. Again, as soon as we can afford it, we'll get it, because it looks good. Now, this is where things get a bit more complicated. This is the Stara cultivator, but it's also got the seed tank on the back. Now, this is the same cultivator as this one just here, and this is the same cultivator as this one just here. I know they do look much bigger when they have the seed tank on the back, but they're just different options. You can have it as just simply a cultivator if you want to, or you can have seed if you want to as well. Now this smaller one has a horsepower requirement of 130 horsepower. It has a working width of 3.7 meters, and if you wanted to put the box on it as well, that would add a capacity of 585 litres. As for the larger one just here, this requires 220 horsepower, the working width is 4.9 metres, and the capacity of the seeder box is 845 litres. So handy pieces of kit, especially as you can add and remove the seeder box if you want to. Next we have, I think it's the Series Master 3570. Again, this is a seed drill, but this is purely a seed drill. It can't be just a cultivator. And this has required horsepower of only 108 horsepower, so it's fairly simple to run. I think the main reason behind this is because it doesn't have culters on it. It's not actually cultivating the ground as such, although it will do a bit. It's not exactly designed purely for cultivating. It is a 3.6 metre working width, and as it is purely a drill, it has a much larger seed capacity of 1,485 litres. We then have this mammoth piece of equipment just over here. This thing is huge. And I think really to be able to appreciate this, I'm going to have to just fly up into the air a bit, because that is big. Look at the size of this. I don't know the exact pronunciation, but it's along the lines of Estrella 32. Maybe I got it right. Hopefully I did. But yes, as it is so big, it does require a lot of power in front of it at 420 horsepower. The working width is a very impressive 14.4 metres, and it has a very large capacity for seed at 8,750 litres. Ah, phew, we're back on our feet. That's good to see. So we're moving on to the Gessner single row billet planter. We do start off with this as standard in the Let's Play, and also if you were to buy this game yourself, which I'm sure you will be doing. The required horsepower for this, planting sugarcane, is 140 horsepower. The working width is 1 metre, and the capacity is 8,990 litres, but don't let that fool you. Despite it being an incredibly large litre capacity, it doesn't actually last very long, mainly because sugarcane stalks are pretty big, they're quite bulky. So, to go with this, we actually have a larger one if you would like it. We have the twin row as well, which is just here, the Gessner twin row billet planter. So really just if you want to get more done, I should think it is twice the speed. That would make perfect sense, but this does require almost twice the horsepower. Almost. 220 horsepower is required, 2 metres in working width, and the capacity is 17,400 litres. Next we move on to the TT8022 driveless. So this is actually a very big machine physically, but again the working width is very small. The working width is just 1 metre, and really it, despite it looking very big, is deceptively small, just because of how it is, just because of what it is. It is a 195 horsepower required machine, and the capacity is 13,100 litres. So basically, to put it simply, it's just a larger version of the single row billet planter, from what I can gather. I've never used it before, but that's all I can see. Yeah, because we've got the capacity of the sugarcane at a much higher number, so that's the idea with this. Next we have the TT Colossus 10,000, designed for carting sugarcane. Now the capacity for this, despite it looking fairly small, is 20,000 litres, and I believe you can attach 2 together. Yes, you can, possibly even more than 2. So that is going to be a very handy thing to have around. You're going to have one really. Having said this, we do actually start off with this one here, which is much smaller, but still very usable. 12,000 litre capacity this one has. The Canna Trans 600. Now the idea is they've got a very high tip for tipping into a tall trailer, such as this Massey Ferguson trailer just here. Now this has got a capacity of 28,000 litres. So they're all fairly big. As you can see, it's Massey Ferguson. I've never seen one of these before in real life. But I can only assume that it's real. The Massey Ferguson 3012. So again, nice thing to have, but I don't think you can attach to... Oh, you can. Sorry, I'm wrong here. You can join two together. So I think, yeah, you can join them all together then. You can have a huge road train of sugarcane trailers, which would probably look quite impressive. Must be quite heavy though. Now, before we go to the bonus sprayer, we've got two more things to do. We've got to go over here to see these absolutely gigantic trailers. I think really this is the idea behind those high-tip sugarcane carters. These trailers take it over to where you want to store it finally. Most likely you're going to want to sell it, because with sugarcane you can't actually store it in a silo. You can put it on the ground in a pile if you'd like to, but you certainly can't just go and put it into a silo. So these, as you would probably be expecting, have an incredibly large capacity. This one is for a truck. This one, you could tow with the truck if you want to, but it's mainly for a tractor. Now we'll go with this one first. This has got a capacity of 66,500 litres. This one is exactly the same, but obviously it doesn't have the dual front dolly at the front. So it's really just personal preference of what you want to have. If you haven't got a truck, you're going to have one of these. So here it is, the bonus sprayer, the Massey Ferguson 9030. A very big model number. In fact, if you couldn't see the back of this, you'd just think it's a normal tractor with an incredibly high number. Because even the biggest tractors are only 87 something, the 8700 series. But no, it's definitely a sprayer, and a nice one at that. So with this, we've got an engine inside it at 200 horsepower. The working width is 28 metres, and the capacity is 3,000 litres. Now, what we're going to do is take a closer look. So as you can see, it's actually still taking the older style Massey Ferguson bonnet. They have changed since this style. This is like 2004-ish to 2012. I'm not too sure exactly. But yes, certainly the tractors have moved away from this front, which doesn't really matter because obviously this is a real sprayer. This is what they look like. It's just making a note there about that. But it looks to be very, very nice, and obviously a lot of parts to it. Must be difficult to make. Here's the spray boom, 28 metre working width, a spray tank on the back. And to be fair, I've never seen a Massey Ferguson sprayer in real life, so I can only assume they're not actually available in the UK. Probably USA or Australia, I'm not too sure. Or somewhere else with this type of sprayer. Let's go inside. Right, so that looks very different actually to a Massey Ferguson tractor. You can certainly tell that it isn't a tractor from in here. There's the big spray tank. The dashboard is simple, but I suppose it tells you everything you need to know. There is the command center. Actually, yeah, that is probably why. That's probably why that is so simple, because all the information is here. Loads of dials, loads of controls, and just generally looking like a nice machine. So if you want to get that, then I think you have to pre-order. However, that may be subject to change. There could be another reason for getting it as well, for having access to it. Anyway, we're going to leave this here. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. And until next time, I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.